ministers have been trying to work out how to deal with the latest US threats to slap 30% tariffs on most EU goods from August 1st. The big question, is it time to get tough on Trump? So far, the EU has been trying not to poke the bear. They've paused all retaliatory tariffs to leave space for negotiations and tried all sorts of other tactics to keep the Trump administration on side, from pledging to massively boost their defence spending to toughening their rhetoric on China. But so far, none of that has convinced Washington to water down its tariff policy, which the EU says is unjustified and unlawful. Some EU states like France and Denmark think the EU should flex its trade muscle more and square up to the US.
We have to evolve in terms of method, and we have to put first what we can do in terms of retaliation today, and to make it very concrete.
But some other countries where sectors and jobs are much more reliant on US exports, like Germany with its major car industry, have been much more hesitant, instead pushing for a quicker deal, even if that means swallowing some tariffs in exchange for relief for critical sectors, to give businesses at least some degree of certainty. Part of the fear is that if the EU uses the significant power it has on trade to respond, it could anger an unpredictable US administration and backfire in areas where the EU is more vulnerable, like security here in the EU and in Ukraine, where Europe relies on the US for weapons, military intelligence and logistics. For now, the EU wants to keep talking to Washington and prepping counter tariffs that could kick in if there's no deal. EU diplomats told me they were on the cusp of brokering a basic agreement with the US last week before Trump's latest curveball. But even if a deal is brokered, you won't hear champagne corks popping here in Europe. Sources think the US will keep its 10% tariff rate on most EU goods, meaning that some pain for EU industries seems inevitable.